Hello and welcome to this video, which is about Steinberg Amped Elektra plugin, which is currently available for free on a deal if you own Cubase 12 Artist or Pro. You can see the web page for it on the screen in front of you, and there's a link in the description for the video about those giveaways, because I know not everybody has had emails about them. A lot of people have, but not everybody for whatever reason. Anyway, it's a extension effectively for Halion Sonic. So if you've got Halion Sonic SE, which everybody has access to because it's free, then you can get this and load it up in it. I'm just going to take you through the plugin and the installation of it as well, because that's sometimes a stumbling point for people. I always think it's useful to do that. So once you get your download access code, you can enter it into Steinberg download assistant. So you'd click there and then it will appear in this area here, and then you'll be able to download it. So you just download it. It's quite a big file, and then you click open. Once you've done that, the Steinberg library manager will install it for you. So in this case, I'm going to stick to a default location. I'm going to keep the installation files because I might want to do something with them later, like copy them to another computer. And then I'm going to click OK, and it will get, effectively the file gets moved to another area, and then that's it. We're in business. So you see those sounds are registered successfully. You should be good to go at this point. In terms of license activation, this is still an eLicenser based product. So you will need to activate this in eLicenser. You'll get a code, I think it starts with 0240. You'll need to put it into the eLicenser control center. If you don't have a dongle, which you might not do if you've just bought Cubase 12, then you will need to authorize it onto a soft eLicenser, which is basically, in essence, a dongle that lives on your computer. If you've got a dongle, you'll probably activate it to that. I did it on mine because I moved between computers, and, you know, I'm a little surprised it's not a Steinberg licensing based product, but I guess Halion Sonic isn't Steinberg licensing based yet, so maybe that's to do with it. Anyway, once you've got all that installed, which I appreciate is a little tricky, there are other videos on the channel to help out if you have any trouble with that. Then you should just be able to open it up in your DAW choice. So we're going to take a look at it in Cubase. As ever, you load it up by loading up Halion Sonic, and then you pick where it says all instrument sets, and you can pick your sound set here. So we've got some other things installed, but we're just going to click on Amped Elektra. Going to load up ballad times because that's the first sound that you'll find, and then we can look at the actual interface itself. Now it's quite large, so I'm going to move this across a bit, but the section where you've got the pads and the quick controls, it actually goes off the screen capture area on my Mac. So it's one of those things where I think they've just made it large, not necessarily for no reason, but it's probably would be nicer if it was resizable, but there we go. So here we've got the two sides of Amped Elektra. So we've got the instrument, and we've also got the effects. Now the presets make fairly good use of the effects, because a lot of electric piano sounds are made up as much of the effects that you add to them as the sound themselves. So there's a few examples which I'm going to play in a bit, but we'll just take a quick look around. So we've got a few different sounds. Now this ballad times one is just a DI. So quite often when you get electric piano, you just take a line out of it effectively and just hear the sound of that itself. So, you know, that's classic instant ballad, Peter Cetera kind of sound. Again, my keyboard skills aren't great, and it's on the left-hand side of me on my tiny keyboard, so I'm not going to attempt to play anything remotely interesting. But that's that kind of sound, instantly evocative of what you'd expect. But you can turn on these other areas. Now, obviously, if you turn them all off, you get nothing. The tube, so we've got, by the looks of the amplifier, it looks like it's going to be a Vox-sounding kind of amp. We can hear, we just got a little bit more warmth in there, etc. As with all of these, I should have mentioned, you've got pan and level, so you can layer them together. You can pan them to different areas of the stereo field, which works quite nicely, because particularly the tube and the twins, I think, work nicely with a bit of spread between them. We've got the tower. Now this, interesting bit of delay there when I played that, but yeah, so you can hear, comparing that with the tube, quite a different sound. I'm thinking of Dreamer by whoever it was. I'm sure you can fill me in on that in the comments, but that's exactly that kind of sound. And then we've got the Twins. Now, it takes a few seconds for it to come to life when you turn these on. So you see, I played that when I said the Twins, and then it comes on. So maybe this isn't something you play around with in real time, but... So we've got three distortion options and DI. And as I say, you can layer them. So we could, pan this one this way, and then you've got a nice bit of stereo spread because it sounds different in one ear to the other. And obviously you don't have to go that extreme. Now, we've also got some sound control, which I'm going to do on the DI mode. So Bark, let's have a listen to that. So you can hear that's altering that sound there. The release, I think, is quite interesting because I'm just stabbing at these notes on the keyboard. If I bring that down, it's much tighter. Now, also, if I turn off, particularly the reverb, you'll hear that. That's really instant, whereas with the release level, strangely, you can hear there's a bit of just an after ringing on going on there. I don't have a pedal attached, so I can't really... Now, if we put extended range, the tooltip actually tells you what's going on there. It extends the full piano key range. So if I transpose down on my keyboard, I can get some really low. If I turn that off, it's not playing on that note, but if I turn extended range on, so you can get notes which stretch outside the range of the original instrument. So that could be useful, particularly if you're going to do some sort of wacky sound experimentation, or maybe go for some just banging that bottom octave, getting some interesting sounds out of there, a la some organ playing, etc. Now we move on to the effect section. So in the effect section, you've got a choice of up to 4 effects that you can add. They can all be turned on and off. And as you can see here, we've got the fairly standard range of effects available here. So if I change that to no effects, you'll see we've got EQ, etc. The menu changes to not have the option that you've chosen, which is kind of useful, I guess. Yeah, they're pretty standard. Nothing to write home about effects, but it's useful to have them here because they're all part of presets, etc. And as you experiment with the presets, you'll find out they're reasonable and they make up a fair degree of the sound available. The distortion certainly is capable of quite extreme settings, as you'll hear in a minute, but every preset has a different combination of these. Obviously some of them have very little on there, but a lot of them, the sound of an electric piano is often, things such as tremolo, etc., and chorus. So having these all on here is quite nice because you don't have to affect them afterwards and they're saved with your presets. In terms of preset selection, as we can see here with Amped Elektra, we've got 43 different sounds in here. They're quite nicely named. They're fairly, you get some idea with most of them what kind of thing you're going to be after, whereas with some of the other presets you think, I have no idea what that's going to sound like. But Extra Dry, for instance, if we load that up, we see here it's not actually dry in the sense you might think, but it has got quite a dry sound. Certainly there's no reverb on it, and the EQ and compression you're probably not going to notice, but the distortion just gives it, again, bit that bite we so often hear with these kind of instruments. So let's just take a look at a few presets which were, stood out for me. So this first one was Delay on a Plate. So we'll just have a listen. I've just grabbed some MIDI from Media Bay to save you having to listen to my tortured keyboard playing. And this is quite nice. It's got this nice, neat sync delay in there. It's fairly subtle. With that plate reverb in there as well, as the name implies. So it's quite nice for those kind of parts. Pulsating power chords. Now this shows that the distortion can go quite extreme. Let's just turn this down a bit because I don't want to annoy everybody. Just some of you. Yeah, so I mean, that's got really, really extreme distortion. Well, it's not as far as it could go, but you know, that's really, really kicking it. What's quite useful in the distortion is we've got this mix control, which I quite like. I quite often want to use that kind of thing on distortions anyway, so I often end up using distortions as a send effect if they don't have a mix control. But it's quite nice being able to balance that, because you still want the sort of attacking cut of the keyboard in there, you know, and you can adjust that to taste, but obviously 100% it's like, that's a fairly nasty sounding distortion, in my opinion. And finally, we have Thrill Me, which is just ideal for these kind of parts, which is often what I want from an electric piano. It's probably a fact of being a certain age. But yeah, so this again, let's take a look at this. We've got, you know, just a bit of flanger and some reverb. I'd probably back the flanger off that a bit, actually. Yeah, so there, you know, again, a nice sound pretty quickly. So as ever with these things, the summary really is an individual thing. I can't tell you, you know, I'll go and buy it, etc., because you may hate the sound of electric piano. Certainly at the moment, this is available for free at the time of recording. If you're a Cubase 12 artist or pro owner, then this is available as a voucher in your account, so you can get that downloaded. You need to do that before October the 3rd. But after the event, it's available for sale if you don't have that or have access to that. It's 68 quid, which obviously you couldn't buy a real one for that. So I think maybe you might want to look at it in that context. Now, clearly with things like Halion Sonic, you do get included electric pianos, but they don't give you anywhere near the range of editing and sound manipulation that you have with Amped Elektra. So they're going to be a much simpler thing. If the basic sound of this electric piano really, you know, hits the button for you, then obviously this would be a pretty great instrument. But that's something obviously for you to decide. Just thought I'd show you some of the features and sounds of this, so you're hopefully a bit better informed. As ever, hope you found this video useful, and we'll see you again soon for more Music Tech Tuition.